Hi everyone, welcome to a simple review. Today we're going to be taking a look at a buildable figure, one of my many in my collection. This is Rey from The Last Jedi. She is set number 75528. She's got 85 pieces, and she came out in 2017. She retailed for about $24.99, and before we get to the figure and all the features that she has, we're going to take a look at the box and the instructions, and then we'll take a look at Rey. So, let's move her to the background a little bit, and we'll take a look at the box here, which is pretty standard buildable figure box. You can see the logo down there, Lego Star Wars, all the information on the left. You can see Rey is in her stance, in her costume from The Last Jedi, and you can see the Island of Ahch-To behind her. On the top of the box, you got Rey's actual headpiece, the actual size of that, so that's cool. On the side of the box, you can see a very cool shot of Rey with the Lego and Star Wars logos on the side of the box. They're looking really cool. On the back, nothing much. She's got her dimensions, how tall she is. We've got Rey in a different pose, and we have one of her action features, which is her battle knob, and another pose. So not much, nothing too much there. We've also got a link to lego.com/Star Wars, but that's pretty much the box. Pretty simple. And yeah, let's take a look at the instructions. Pretty simple, just the same box, just the same artwork as the front of the box. We've got a diagram on how to build your set, the Buildable Figures logo, and different language there. Rey is actually kind of a more difficult figure to make, so that's why her instructions are a bit more, I guess, thick. That's her action feature. There is all of the parts that come with Rey, a customer service ad. There's the other 3 buildable figures that came out in this same wave. So you got the, let me get my pointer here. We've got the Elite TIE Fighter, Elite First Order TIE Fighter Pilot. There's Rey, which is my favorite of the 4. And then we got the Elite Praetorian Guard and Chewbacca. So some really cool ones there. And we got some more advertisements for some Last Jedi sets, some really cool shots of Rey in the middle there and some other characters. We've also got another ad for some other sets like the First Order Star Destroyer and the Resistance Bomber. And we got the Win robot there, which is really cool, and that's the instructions. And let's go back to Rey. The first thing you'll notice about Rey is that she's very different. In fact, this is probably the second version of Rey that we've gotten in the Buildable Figures line. Not the first. The first one was in 2015, which is pretty cool. I think I can show a picture of it. I've got Kylo Ren's box here. I can show you the picture of the first Rey. There she is. I don't have her because it looks pretty awful. It's actually one of my least favorites, especially Poe Dameron as well. But that's the original Rey. Kind of give you a good bit of context as to the original version. But this one is way better. Not only does it look actually like Daisy Ridley, it actually looks proper to the movies. I guess the first feature is her articulation, which is pretty standard for buildable figures. You've got the movable upper arm, the movable elbow, and then you've got the movable wrist. So that's like her standard arm articulation. And for the legs, they're also very straightforward. You've got the upper leg, the lower leg, and the ankle. And of course the feet can move as well. So they're pretty standard. I mean, you can get her in some different poses if you want to, which is pretty nice. And also her head is pretty straightforward. You can move it left to right, a little bit up, a little bit down. So it's kind of more limited because of the hair. But yeah, I guess the next thing we'll talk about is her exclusive parts, which she does have quite a few. She does have 2 printed shells here in a light gray, and these printing on it to show her bare shoulders. And they're pretty nice. You got some detailed printing on both sides, which looks really nice there. And she does have well, at the time, this was a brand new female piece that was exclusively made for Rey and also Jyn Erso. So it's like a more female-styled, feminine curved torso. So it looks more like a woman, I guess. Looks really nice. You can see the shaping is really good here because Rey in The Last Jedi and in the sequel trilogy actually wears lots of tight, form-fitting clothes, so it actually works here. And you can see the detailed printing is fantastic on the body piece. You can just see just how much printing is on this thing. It's incredible, really. And you got this a little thing at the top here, which just represents some more of her flesh. And of course, her most well, I'll talk about the what is this? The waistcoat is a exclusive fabric cut just for her, and it's very cool. It's asymmetrical. So on this side, it's got a more rounded oval shape, and on this side, it's more tattered. So you can see it now. It's in two pieces instead of the one, and it attaches on her back by her butt area, I guess. That is all of her exclusive pieces, save for the head, which this is the most important part of the figure, and this is probably worth buying just, you probably want to buy this just for the head, because it looks exactly like Daisy Ridley. Like, it's pretty incredible. They got all the details that you would want. Her forehead is a little bit big, but, I mean, oh well. The hair, though, is really where this figure shines. And it looks fantastic. I love it. It looks really cool and very accurate to Rey. And let's talk about her accessories, which there's not much, but there are some. Usually buildable figures mostly just come with one accessory, but Rey gets two, where she does have a gun. You can zoom in on that there. That's a little pistol. And it's pretty similar to the one that came with the original Rey, except this one is a lot more detailed. It's a lot more accurate to The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. So it's this supposed to represent the gun that Han gives her. And it looks pretty nice. It doesn't actually shoot. So if you look over here, it's just an empty thing. You know, there's no shooting function. It's just the gun, which looks pretty nice. And I'd say the only con is that you either have to have it in her hand, or that's it. There's no other way. You can't really store it on her, which we'll get to that in the con section. And of course, she does have the lightsaber. Sorry, let me move the gun out of the way. This is the lightsaber. It's pretty long, and this is awesome. It's basically just a buildable figure lightsaber, but in a bright silver, like a metallic silver. And if I zoom in here, you can see it's pretty nice. It's very chrome-like. It's not quite chrome, but pretty close. There's also the buildable figure lightsaber blade piece in blue, which looks really nice. And that's pretty much the lightsaber. Speaking of the lightsaber, there is an action feature. Rey really only has one action function. You may notice on the back, which looks pretty good, there is a knob. If I zoom in, you'll see that knob right there. And if I turn this knob, Rey will basically slash like she's fighting in the movie. So like this, you can see, if I turn the knob, her lightsaber arm will slash up and down, which looks really cool. And it goes really good with Kylo Ren, if you have him. It's just really cool. And one last thing about the lightsaber I'd like to mention. So if I take her gun out of her hand, with all these action type figures, like the lightsaber wielders, they all get this little red axle piece. And essentially what you want to do with that is take that, put it in her other hand, and if you take the bottom portion of the lightsaber and you clip it to the bottom of her hand, and if you take this hand, put it down there, it essentially makes Rey have two hands on her lightsaber, which is something that you can do. Now, this is kind of a pro and a con, because both of her hands are now on it. It really limits the articulation on her arms. So if you want a more, dynamic posability option, then definitely don't do this. But it looks a little bit awkward with the long hilt there. I mean, you could take this off if you wanted to, make it a little bit more cool. But, I mean, it's up to you. It looks pretty nice. You can angle it some ways, but it's definitely more limited. So, I mean, that's just something that you could do, and it looks pretty nice there. But if, that's something that happens sometimes. But if you're not careful, Rey's arm will fall off. Just something to keep in mind. But like I said, if you want a more dynamic option, then definitely leave this off, because it's better for display. Let's see. Let's talk about the cons. There's not a lot. Rey is pretty covered up for the most part. I mean, you can see literally nothing is exposed on her. I'd say one of the cons is definitely the arms falling off. That's, if you're too rough with her, that's something that will happen. Just the arm will just fly off. And this counts to both arms. So this one as well, which is alright. Another con, like a nitpick, is that sometimes this waist cape will kind of bunch up, and it depends on what poses you have with her. But if you just continuously pose her in more ridiculous ways, the fabric waist cape will kind of get bunched up and crinkled, and you just want to be a little careful. And her head looks kind of floating. Like if you notice, if I zoom in here, you'll notice that you can see the gear mechanism to do the arm feature. That's kind of open, and there's nothing you can really do about that unless you like make something for that, but it doesn't come with like any covering up here. So that's a kind of a nitpick. So in some poses, Rey looks kind of like a floating head, is what I'm trying to say. Just something to keep that in mind, I guess. And her knob is pretty exposed on the back, but like, that's okay. I guess one of the worst cons is that you can't really tilt Rey's head that much because of her hair sculpt on the back. So if I try to lift her head up, this is really all you're gonna get. And you can lift it down really far. It depends where the gear is on the bottom. But yeah, you can, there is a limit on as well on the back of her. If I zoom in here, you'll notice that little notch, and that is what prevents Rey's head from turning all the way around. And Kylo Ren has this as well. So it's just a little nitpick, really. Nothing too major to complain about. But other than that, oh yeah, I also forgot the gun is kind of just loose. There's nowhere to put it, so it's just literally sitting loose around the figure. So those are just the cons that I found with Rey. I mean, there's not really anything really major, but just some little things to keep in mind there. But that's pretty much Rey from The Last Jedi. I'd say definitely this is a solid improvement over the last Rey, which looked terrible from the Force Awakens line of buildable figures. That one looks very bad to me. But this one looks exactly like Daisy Ridley. Her outfit is perfectly portrayed. She's got a cool waist cape. Her head is awesome. The lightsaber's there. The gun is pretty nice. And the posability is extremely good on her this time around. And they really nailed her. And actually, fun fact, Rey is one of the few characters to get another buildable figure, the other one being Darth Vader. So they kind of redesigned them, and it's for the better, because they look fantastic. But this is Rey from The Last Jedi. I'm going to give her probably a 9.5 out of 10. The only reason I'm not going to give her a 10 out of 10 is just because of her controversy with her head, and she's more of a human figure. But yeah, that's really the only reason for that. Hope you guys enjoyed. This was a simple review of Rey, buildable figures, I guess the updated version. So let me know what you guys think about these, and stay tuned for the next simple review coming very soon. And I'll catch you guys later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.